Hello and welcome to GamesHUB, a crypto talk show with our investors, partners, and remarkable personalities. I'm Constantin Kogan, co-founder of GamesPad, and we're excited to welcome a very special guest today, Yaroslav Shakula, who is the founder of YardHub Web3 Venture Studio, serial entrepreneur, and a Web3 evangelist. Today we're going to discuss exciting topic of traditional brands embracing Web3 to drive growth. Hi, Yaroslav. Welcome to GamesHUB.
Hey, Constantine. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And maybe as a traditional question in the beginning, you can tell us a little bit about your background and how did you end up in Web3?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born and raised in Ukraine. I'm 39 right now, and now currently I live in Barcelona, Spain. So I've graduated as an interpreter, but quite quickly understood that it was not the career I'm going to pursue. So I went to entrepreneurship quite early. I mean, in my 18 or 19 years. Through my career, I've tapped into various industries: content production, affiliate marketing, advertising, e-commerce, you name it. And back in 2017, I discovered crypto, which later on evolved into Web3. And my biggest passion in life is, generating ideas and watching them go live and impact other people. I founded the venture studio and focused it for Web3 because I believe this is the technology, this is the frontier technology. We're super early and we've got a lot of fascinating things to do. And I'm very happy to be one of the first, hundreds of thousands of people building something in Web3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. And the funny thing for the viewers, just before the preparation, we realized that we're both from Ukraine and we went to the same university, right? So
and the same faculty.
Same faculty. There's no coincidence that we're having this podcast. And on the educational part, right? So you obviously, I'm sure as an entrepreneur, like you went through different models and different concepts. So can you explain us the main difference between the Web3 venture studio, or just generally venture studio, and a venture capital firm, a VC?
Absolutely. Well, in layman terms, when we talk about the stakeholders in venture, these are usually the venture capital firms, of course, startups, then the venture capital firms, the incubators and accelerators. These are the concept that most of the people are familiar with. So incubator basically takes the idea, the founder comes with the idea, incubator helps them incubate it, actually build the first version, the MVP, providing them with some very basic resources. The accelerator takes the already established startup and helps them grow by giving some, again, new resources, new network, new capital. And VC firms by default are focused on just deploying capital. So they see whether the founder is matching their expectations, the idea is good, whether there's a market there, go through their due diligence process. If it's okay, they allocate the capital. Well, of course, lately, because the VC market became very competitive, some VC firms started providing, some additional resources to their portfolio companies, like, again, networking, some maybe development resources, some fundraising help. Venture Studio it's kind of a hybrid of all these players within one company. So we are a builder. We're a venture builder. We take an idea inside. So our project leaders, we call them the entrepreneurs in residence. So these people are part of our team. They can launch 3, 5, 10 projects within 1 year, because as we launch the idea, we understand it's a piece of shit. We just kill it and we just switch to another one. And yeah, I mean, the motto of any venture studio should be fail fast, because that's how this model actually exists. And then we take this idea, we take this entrepreneur in residence, and we provide them with all the necessary resources to validate the idea, to build an MVP, and to bring the project to the first external fundraising round. So we use our own capital, we deploy it into this early stage ideas until the MVP is validated and ready to attract some money from outside.
Mm-hmm. Now, if we're talking about from your experience, obviously that's an interesting model where you kind of apply reverse logic, right? So you try to eliminate, the ideas that might not deem to be successful. Now, in terms of the challenges, the key challenges that you face, right? That, where traditional brands face for when they're trying to navigate, the Web3 ecosystem. So you have a successful business, maybe a small business or a mid business, right? And how can a venture studio help address these challenges and maybe help them to upgrade to Web3?
Well, I think the list of problems that traditional brands can face when entering Web3 is very long, but I think it's possible to cut to one biggest problem, is that when they don't care about it at all. So if we take, we already have a few launches from big brands, from traditional brands, some of which were successful and some of which were not. So the best case, I guess, without any doubt, is Nike, with what they did with the RTFKT agency. And I think that their success was based on the fact that at the very beginning, they just hired the true Web3 people who understood what they were doing. And I guess they were acting as approval process or something like that, but the builders built. What other projects did, for example, let's take Lacoste or Porsche. Porsche is a brand I love. I mean, I'm a fan of these cars, and I understand what it's being a Porsche ambassador, Porsche brand ambassador. I mean, like when we all understand that we are overpaying for the brand when we purchase those cars, but we're still very happy to be part of that story, to be part of that DNA. But what they did with Web3 was a complete flop. So what they did, they just, created a few pictures. Like, it was actually one picture. They didn't even bother to make a collection. It was only one picture of Porsche 911. No communication, no telling anyone about any utility or whatever. Of course, okay, no utility. So it's a collectible, not a single word. They didn't try to build a community. So as a result, it was a complete flop. So yeah, we are Porsche, we're a huge brand, but they only managed to sell, I guess, 1/3 of the supply that they planned. So,
but they actually made $16 million as of now.
Yeah,
so
but
I wouldn't call it a complete flop. And they actually burned the 2/3 of the unsold NFTs, which elevated the floor price, which was very smart of them, right? And I mean, I wouldn't call it a complete flop. I would respectfully disagree. I agree that it could have been done better, right? But like I think, the fact that they now, and also they actually have an opportunity, so you can, the communication was that you can upgrade this 911 and then mint it, and create as a new skin. So actually it's happening in March. I think it's already been that there's a second year. So there is this model. Maybe the communication could have been better. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for Porsche, I wouldn't say it was a flop. But if you're a brand sized as Porsche, not having your first collection being sold out, for me, it's not something Porsche would expect if done right. At the same time, if we look at Lacoste, for example, also they were launched during the hype season, so everything was minted out. But again, no utility delivered, no communication, nothing, and the floor price tanking. And of course, they will now try to save it because you kind of damage your brand image with this. But on the contrary, when we see how Nike did all that stuff, it's completely different. And as by now everything done on their side was good and successful. So I believe I can't, of course, I don't know the inside of why these things happens, but from what I've heard from people, I've talked to people who are, responsible now for Web3 presence in big brands. Right now, in many big companies, it's like some VP of marketing or whatever comes and says, okay, guys, everyone's in metaverse, everyone's in Web3, we should launch something in Web3. Okay, who knows something about Web3? I do. Okay, you're responsible for that. And now that poor guy either does something that they understand or hires someone to do something so that he can, include that in the quarter report and say, okay, now we're in Web3, we can check this in the list. I think this is the main thing, that it's not still, on their main agenda. But as they will move on, I think they will change that. So the main challenge, I guess, is that they don't understand that you can't just go into Web3 and simply apply the traditional marketing techniques, which do work in Web3, but only if you have those Web3 native crucial things like talking to your community, explaining everything you do, because that's how successful Web3 projects are built. It's like complete transparency with your community. You let community actually they participate in what you're building, and that's the main challenge that traditional brands have. They don't understand this. As soon as they do, or someone helps them do that, and that's where like venture studios, which are Web3 native, can come as a service. Because, well, we do understand how to build Web3 communities and Web3 projects. We understand what matters here. And when we are now currently like piloting a few projects with traditional brands, so it's super easy. When we are co-venturing with them, we are responsible for what we're good at, and they are just responsible, like for delivering their audience, and that's it. And this way it can really work much better than it does now for many brands.
Yeah. So obviously, overall structuring and making sure it's relevant, the communication is good is important, right? Now, and we've seen that right now in 2022, the funding fell like 74% the VC side, and then the secondary market is not doing great in NFTs, and it's very kind of one-sided, where Yuga Labs controls then more than 50% of the market, like, right, or probably 60-70 already. So the question is like, where, like, you're not talking about mega brands right now, like Starbucks, MasterCard. So Nike can be an example, but right now you're launching some smaller brands, right? As I understand. So how can you make sure that, however you evaluate the potential investment of your time and efforts are successful? What criteria, do you apply to determine whether a company is even, eligible, it even has a potential to go into develop the Web3 ecosystem?
Great question, very challenging one. I believe that money should not be the first thing to assess when you're thinking about launching in Web3. On the contrary, focusing on money from the launch may be the fastest path to death of this new venture, because the paid space, the so-called paid space in Web3 is super competitive right now. Everyone wants to sell you something, some NFT, some mint, some whatever. Just buy it. And as you've mentioned, many collections go down, so people can buy them. I believe that the best way for any brand to go to Web3 is to offer some new experience, both for their current clients and for the new audience, the new way to interact with the brand. So creating a community, creating some activities around that community. It could be anything, literally anything. It could be something from collectibles through free mint or some other stuff, to some quests when you interact with the brand offline and online and get rewarded. Or it could be kind of a interaction with the products that the brand develops, some kind of customer service and things like that. So the main thing that the brands should do is to bring value first. And then it usually becomes obvious what is the next step, what is the best way to maybe try to extract value at some point on the market. But right now, I believe super important for the brands is to establish their presence. That's their main goal. And if we're talking about whether the brand is legit or not, well, the first thing you can do is just to go to their social networks and to see how they perform there. If they have a very active and very engaged audience, this is the perfect brand to start exploring with in Web3, because usually people, these are like generation, I don't know who, Generation Z or something like that. I'm lost in all those generational stuff. So all those people who are very familiar with Instagram, with TikTok and things like that, they are very open to these new experiences, to new ways to interact with their favorite brand. like simple things. I mean, we've already tried a few simple things with fashion brands, when every time someone purchases their T-shirt on the website, they have these success purchase email, and that email says that now you're eligible to collect the first sticker from our collection. If you collect 10, you will be able to order that limited collection T-shirt, which is only like 100 pieces. And I mean, and the engagement is crazy. It's like 40 or 50% of people do click and do claim those NFTs, and that's really crazy. And that's the new channel for brands to communicate. So I believe we are not very selective at the moment. I think like this market is still, like it's still emerging. It's still in its infancy. So it's the way of trial and error, as the whole Web3 is. We are the frontiers. We're like every day we discover something new. So there are no rules, I would say, right now.
Okay, so there's no criteria, there's no actual rules.
Like, yeah, I mean, it's common sense. I mean, like, it's common sense. If you see it's an obvious, like something obviously is wrong, you don't do it. But otherwise, yeah, why not? Let's give it a shot.
Okay, so I guess from there, like I have more questions to you, but like I want our community to participate. So far, like appreciate your answers, and now the time for audience to us. So we have questions already prepared from various channels. So I'll just go read them, and you're welcome to answer. So there is a lot, so let's try to go quickly one by one. So Captain Huddle is asking from YouTube, how can traditional brands leverage the latest Web3 technologies to foster growth? Are there good guidelines to follow?
Well, to sum up everything I said, like in very short, concise sentences. First, don't try to make money instantly from the audience. Second, start from building a community around some idea. So every brand probably has some idea behind it, some kind of a mission, some values and things like that. Try building a community which fosters these values. Bring value to that community. Bring rewards for their activity, for their loyalty, for their shopping experience, whatever. And these are like the first three rules. If the brand succeeds in them, everything will become much more clear from that point, because the community itself will actually tell you what you should do next.
Yeah, agreed. Now, in terms of so there are more questions, like Ulsan from YouTube is asking, what are some of the biggest challenges that traditional brands face when it comes to embracing Web3 that might discourage them from ever doing so? Maybe some you already mentioned, maybe to summarize like one or two more.
Yeah, besides those that I've mentioned, what keeps brands from Web3, the main reasons, I've summarized them up right once in my LinkedIn post. I've talked to them. So first, it's the whole reputation of crypto as something not understandable, something, I don't know, like scam, FTX, all that stuff. The second thing is legal. So for those who want to help brands explore Web3, you should think in advance what you're going to offer them from the legal perspective. Maybe you will do it on your side, or you come with the legal framework for them in the country they're operating. The third and the most important thing, I would say, they don't have resources for that. They don't have people who understand what they should do. They don't have departments, and the agencies that are working, these brands are working with right now, are still not really aware of Web3, so they don't have the resources. I mean, like, someone needs to do that, and they don't have those people in the team. That's, I guess, like three additional problems that they challenge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, so Farah from YouTube is asking, what strategies have been successful in helping traditional brands make the transition to Web3? Are there any inspiring success stories? Maybe some of your portfolio companies that really helped?
Our current portfolio companies are our own companies, so these are not the representation of traditional brands in Web3. Those that we are running right now in pilot mode, which are not public, I can't say they're successful already, so we're like testing things there. But from what we see, they just do the simplest thing. I mean, like, don't overcomplicate. I mean, I've seen a lot of efforts of overcomplication, or like building some very immersive experience, metaverse, stuff like that. Simply just giving some collectibles to every purchase is good. Creating a community where you engage people and ask them for their feedback and things like that. That's a simple thing. Also works really good. Creating very interesting co-advertising, co-marketing opportunities is also really cool, because as we now already see, traditional brands partner with successful Web3 brands, and they do some kind of co-branding, which also works very well for both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone wants to see the case study, I really recommend studying what Nike did with RTFKT. I mean, every step on the way was super good. I mean, like, very timely and very successful.
Got it. Now, Web3 Ventures from Twitter is asking, how can traditional brands increase customer engagement by integrating new Web3 features into their products and services? What needs to change in how the product is marketed?
The simplest thing, the simplest use case besides the communities is, of course, the loyalty programs. It's a very understandable concept for any Web3 brand. Loyalty programs have already proved through centuries that they do increase customer engagement, they do increase LTV, they increase the return rate. So they work good. Loyalty programs are now being actively and successfully tested by Starbucks, as we all know, the Odyssey on Polygon. We also know that Salesforce has recently integrated the NFT loyalty module into their CRM, which I think is a huge opportunity for the market. Just imagine Salesforce has, if I'm not mistaken, around 15,000 active clients around the globe. And now say how many of those 15,000 companies do understand what they should do with this module? I think just a very tiny part. So all the other brands now understand that this is something worthy because Salesforce has included it, but they don't. Yeah.
So smaller, they have 150,000 plus.
150, yeah, sure, yes, 150,000. Yeah, so yeah, it's huge, and this is the new market for Web3. And I will make a bet that 98% of those companies don't understand what to do here, but they will, because like eventually the Salesforce vendors and marketing companies will tap into that niche and start offering all those things. So loyalty program is very obvious. It's understandable how to do it. It's very easy to explain to customers, and it's proven to increase the customer metrics.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Now, so Rafael asks a very similar question to your reply, but maybe you can add a little bit. What are the key considerations for traditional brands when evaluating potential partnership with Web3 startups? How can you determine a good Web3 partner? If you were to a little bit abstract from your kind of interest, but you would say, like, you said are like Nike, right? They did a good partnership with it, but there is like any other company that is offering them partnerships. How would you identify which one is good?
Yeah, this is actually a problem. I'm glad you asked. When I talk to brands right now, I understand that they have been approached by someone else before, and they have been given some very stupid, unrealistic expectations. Like, people coming to them, okay, sir, pay me $100,000. I will launch your collection. Your collection will sell for 1 million. We all make money. We all rich. That's how a lot of sales pitch are made on this. So it's already a challenge for the brands to understand which partner to choose. Again, I think that's common sense here. I think the first red flag is that when a Web3 partner offers you to pay some, like huge money in advance for something you don't even understand what. I think that most of it should be either a reputable agency with good portfolio, so you just have a look and see, okay, I've got Nike, Lacoste, Porsche, Audi in portfolio. You can trust me, obviously. If it's not, I would recommend a brand to just to talk to them, just to hear what they think. If this potential partner, whether it's an agency or a venture studio, if they're trying to understand your business, if they're trying to understand what you want to build, what are your values, what you want to get from that, do you want to make money or you want to increase your customer engagement? And then they offer you, for example, to co-venture, right? When you are both have skin in the game, I think that's a good sign. That's something that makes your potential partner much more trustworthy, I guess.
Yes, I agree. That's a good tip. Now, Glitch Trap from YouTube is asking, are there any legal or regulatory issues that traditional brands should be aware of when exploring opportunities related to Web3 and I guess specifically to NFT we're talking about right now?
I would say it depends on the geography, on the country where the brand is incorporated. Anyway, there is always a workaround, which is like setting up a company somewhere where it's absolutely legal and let this company operate all the digital assets. That's done super easily. That's what many brands do. And so that's nothing. You only need money to set up that company and that's it.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then also maybe on my side, I would say like also to answer this question, like again, we're not lawyers and not legal advice, but there are ways how to hire proper lawyers who already have experience, and they just close the problematic jurisdictions, and you can even geofence, some of your collections from like let's say US if you're afraid for any reasons, like so that's also an option. Ricardo Diaz from YouTube is asking how can traditional brands use digital currencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum as a payment options for customers, and how can a brand make that preferable?
Well, first of all, it's already widely used. The easiest way is to partner with a payment provider, with a payment gateway. A lot of them are already on the market. So you will accept Bitcoin on your website, and then you just choose whether you keep that money in Bitcoin or that provider will instantly convert that into USD and whatever and transfer it to your bank account. So it's already a working process in many countries, including US, including Europe. It's super clear. Again, I live in Europe. And I know that I can pay for some services here in Ethereum, for example, and it converts like automatically and works absolutely fine. So I think this is already a solved issue for the brands.
Yeah, and now recently we just heard like the news that Telegram now allows to even transfer USDT in native app, right? So there's a lot of other interesting things you can do.
Yeah.
Now Kamado-san from YouTube is asking, are there any innovative marketing techniques that traditional brands can use to better promote their products and services using Web3 technologies?
Well, they're all like the essence of Web3, I would say. So like NFT is a new technique, I would say, for marketing. So you can use NFTs for many different purposes. But marketing,
I don't think he's saying that because, sorry to interrupt, but because just listing NFT in the OpenSea doesn't help you, right? Because you're going to be out of millions of others. So I think the question is more pertaining to growth hacking techniques, how to promote those NFTs once you decide to go live.
Yeah, from this perspective, I believe nothing is super different from the traditional marketing channel. So any marketing is based upon creating kind of FOMO, right? Both in offline and in Web2. The second thing is making people believe they need this stuff. And the third thing is like making it kind of a trend. So when things become trendy, you suddenly realize you also need that stuff. Well, you lived without it till now, but you suddenly realize that life is no longer possible without that stuff. So I guess the marketing techniques are pretty much the same if you bear in mind the type of audience you are interacting with Web3, which are, I wouldn't say there's a more critical mindset, but people that value transparency and honesty a lot. So I would say this is something that brands should bear in mind. But otherwise, I think that a good marketing mind from Web2 will most likely succeed in Web3 marketing if he just learns a few rules of existing here.
I also would respectfully disagree with that, not necessarily, because I actually personally have seen amazing Web2 marketers who, in token listing, I think you're correct. When you're talking about specifically NFT, I think the rules are very different, and you have to penetrate like specific communities, like which are alpha groups or like NFT holders, which are very much different from a lot of traditional techniques I've ever seen in my life. And
I agree.
I think there's a big differentiator. Like if you just launching a token or an integration, you're 100% correct.
But here I agree. I agree, but I don't think that traditional brands should focus on the true Web3 audience with alpha groups and things like that. Their potential lies much more in bringing their own existing audience and reactivating it with Web3 things like NFTs and things like that. If we talk about marketing for the through Degents, I fully agree with you that Degents should be approached differently.
But the conversions then, I think, as you mentioned before, the overestimation that the conversion of traditional users, or let's imagine if we're talking about luxury brands, it's an older audience, right? We're talking about people who are not so like web native. I'm not even talking about like crypto native, right? So for them, it's a challenging part to even download a wallet, to create a simple wallet and to participate. So therefore, it becomes like an educational process of how to make sure they're even able to get basic Trust Wallet or MetaMask or any other wallet to per se, like to even start this journey, which some of them, they're not just excited about just because of this hurdle, like technological hurdle. They might like the idea, they might agree with the concept, but it might be really challenging for them to actually push and go this route of creating the wallet.
That's why bigger players like Microsoft with our new Microsoft Edge browser with integrated wallet, and I'm quite sure that iPhone, it's a matter of 1 year, max 2 years, that iPhone will have Apple native crypto wallet integrated into iPhone. I have no doubts about that. So the next time someone purchases a bag in Louis Vuitton or a new Porsche in a car dealership, they will just take off their iPhone, scan something, and voila, they've got their NFT natively. I'm sure that will happen pretty soon, much sooner than we expect.
That is a fun prediction. That's a fun prediction. Now I love this angle, right? In 1 year we're gonna come back and put this cut this clip.
I said 1 to 2 years. 1 to 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm not gonna hold you 100% accountable. There's a really pleasure talking to you. Really pleasure learning from you. There are more questions, and I hope we're gonna get more. For now, we just want to we always do like short and sweet, and to leave a little bit of expectations for more. We're going to share all your information. Please, guys, if you want to see Yaroslav, what's the best way? Like, I think LinkedIn, Twitter, right?
Yeah, LinkedIn is super cool. I'm every day there. Yeah, so super convenient. And yeah, on LinkedIn, I share my thoughts about Web3, my vision. I share it every day. So yeah, if you find it interesting, LinkedIn is the best way to follow me.
Perfect. Yes, and then you can obviously visit Yard Hub, their website, and try to apply if you have some ideas. So it's yardhub.tech. We appreciate your time. Thank you for being with us, and thank you everyone for joining GamesHUB today. We're going to expect you in about 2 weeks at 4 p.m. UTC, 12 p.m. EST, and YouTube Live, Twitter Live, all possible lives ever, right? So thank you so much again, Yaroslav, and it was really exciting.
Yeah, thanks, Constantin. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks for having me. Everyone have a good day. Have fun and love Web3. Bye.
We'd love to Web3. Thanks.